All right, third time's a charm. Let's do this again. Doesn't seem to be working out so well today. Okay, let's see if we can tag the community and here and get this going. All right, approve. See how this goes. Bring them on camera. Great. Yes, success. Oh no. Hi, Jai. How are you?
I'm good, Claire. How are you? Finally, we
perfect.
are up, right?
It's testing out this new technology isn't always your friend. So let's see if I can tag the Yay community and then I can repost it onto their site. And so we have quite a few viewers now from my own personal Facebook. So let's just reshare it to the Yay community page and then we'll get started. Yeah, share to a page. All right, there we go.
Are you able to do that now?
Yeah, now it's good. All right, so it should now be live on the Yay community page. Okay, perfect. So we'll just get started then. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Ask a Coach Hour, the Yay Community Ask a Coach Hour. I'm here with Jaikishan Prithiani, who I'll be calling Jai for the rest of the hour. He is an entrepreneur, a startup mentor, an IT consultant, and an idea validator. So that's quite a lineup. You have more than 7 years of experience supporting tech startups, from website and app development to nurturing small and medium scale businesses. You've been guiding them through the design and branding process and also revenue and business modeling. So what we're going to have you talking about today is obviously, as the title says, idea validation, a little bit about why it's important and how to do it. So I'm going to leave it to you from there and let you jump into the topic.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for inviting me on the Y community. So, what is idea validation? I've been asked many times that they come across many questions like, how we should do it, who is our audience, where we should start it, and all those stuff. So before I get into it, I would like to understand. So, what is your audience? How you will define your process of your product, whether it's required or not. So, do you want me to explain those things, or you want me to ask the questions and would like to address those things?
Yeah, let's have you start with an explanation of that, and then we can jump into the questions a little bit later on in the session.
Okay, so do you want me to wait for a while so people can come up, or you want to get started?
Let's just get started because people can always watch it back afterwards,
Okay.
And then they can also post questions, and if you have to repeat it later, then I think that's okay.
Okay. So the very first basic question or the basic suggestion that I would give is, like, everybody asks us, like, what is idea? That's the very first point that I would always address to someone is, like, I have heard people saying that my idea is a good idea, or my idea, somebody says that, like, you had a bad idea about that product. Guys, it's very clear that there is no such terminology as a good idea or a bad idea. Idea is just an idea, right? Execution makes it a bad idea or a good idea. So, when you have an idea, it's just idea. It's a thought process. So when you have a thought, it's a thought. You cannot say I had the idea cannot be defined as a good or a bad at the very initial stage. It can only be said as, because of execution, it's always good. Because of its execution, it's always bad. You can take any amount of, examples of Facebook, Instagram, Netflix, Airbnb. Everybody said the Airbnb is the worst idea. And around 200, or I think they reached to around 200 times to the investors before they got a funding, and all of them said this is not the idea that anybody can work on. And see now where they have already been there. So now let's talk about how we say it about the validation. So validation is a bit different when it comes to development. What I suggest is like you always feel that you have a great idea, and idea is like, okay, I got the idea, now it's the time that I want to push this to the market, and then you think that I'm going to be the first one. But when you have an idea, just Google around it, you would be dealing with the 10,000 or one more than that people who had the same idea in the past or planning to do that. So you're not just the first one to do it. Just go around a different, just go around and talk to the people about what should be, what your thought process is, and that is how the validation should work. There are different ways of doing a validation. So when we have a questions, I can tell them that what is the way that you can do about it. So when you are doing an idea validation, one thing that you have to make sure, and you have to be very firm with that is, don't ask your friends and families, don't validate your idea with the friends and family, because those guys cannot help you with the actual answers that you're looking for. You have to go to the actual audience, and actual audience can be as you if you can segmentize those things, like what is the age, what is the salary cap, what is the group that you're targeting. There are many ways that you can define that, like you're targeting for a specific amount salary cap, like the person who is earning the X amount, or person staying in North American region or the Asian region. So when you talk about all those things, you have to be very specific about your product. So when you have a certain product, you have to make sure that you know just validate your idea with the specific number of people, and then see how it works for them. And you cannot launch a product with a perfect, or I'll say 100% and successful product. You have to do an iteration process all the time. You have to have an iteration process in your method, where you would be seeing what works for you, what doesn't work for you, and what works for you, that you have to take it to the next level, and that things which are not working for you, you have to leave that out and move ahead. So there are many other ways that you can do a idea validation. Is like uh, the concept that idea validation came across is like, before you spend too much of money, like say you have an idea that you want to be on another Facebook, right? And then you say that, okay, I want to create another Facebook, and then you start working on, then you start collecting the money, you create the social network, you create the features, you invest a lot, and then you realize that, okay, market does not need this. Then what is going to happen? You lost your time, you lost your money, you lost your faith, um, everything. So this is the where the idea validation comes. Before you get any product into the market, the best way is to validate it, whether it's a market fit or not. If it is, it can be for a small niche. It is not necessary that your product should gather millions and trillions of users. That doesn't matter at all. You just have to make sure that you have a specific amount of users that can on a really good value for you, and that can give some sort of benefit of what you're doing.
So if I can just jump in then and pose a question to you. We're talking about, the various stages of idea validation, and that you're never successful, at the first time, and that you have to continuously be, reiterating and retesting. What is the difference then for our viewers between market research and idea validation, or are they the same thing?
So at certain level, I would say that for in every idea validation, there is a requirement of market research. You have to do a market research to get any sort of a validation done for you. So whether it's, as I said, the market research can be limited to what you are doing, can be specific to the groups, can be specific to the country, can be specific to the gender. It all depends on what sort of market research you're doing. But
Okay.
there are certain sort of a market research which is not just for the validation. It is more of understanding that how it is more of an analyticals, where you have to see what is and when you do a market research, then you realize that okay, these things are specifically the specific groups or specific things that are working, and I want to select only a small chunk of that for my business.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. Interesting. Well, I'll let you continue. I just wanted to jump in and make that distinction for the audience.
Yeah, so that is what is like when you do some sort of a market research, you don't get a specific answers all the time. You get a huge response from the public because you are going to do a market research for. I have seen the people have done a market research for more than 5,000 people, 1 lakh users, 2 lakh users, and then they realize that okay, now what we're going to do is we are going to see what is the probability of that who would be using this product depending upon what the questions or the answers they have answered.
Hmm.
And on the basis of that, you decide that okay, they are looking for it now. This is the subset of our customers that or of our consumer base, which we are going to target our product to them.
Okay. Okay, interesting. Well, I don't see any questions yet being posted in the comment section. So what
Okay.
I'm going to do is just jump in with a question posted by our Yay ambassador to Pakistan. His name's
Okay.
Ozal Zesha. He actually
Okay.
runs it's a social enterprise. It's an edutech platform called Class Notes. And
Okay.
he's posted the question, my key users are students in high school and colleges who need to prepare for their exams. How would idea validation work in our case? Was a positive response from one school translate to idea validation all across the region, or do we need to validate in all target regions?
No. So what I suggest on this part is that you should not target all the target audience at this point of time. You go by one region at a time. It is not always a good idea when you are working in a specific inventory based product or specific with the logistic products. It is never a good idea to just launch globally. It is always a better idea that you launch at specific location and then you multiply with the number of regions. So that goes with this one. But when they say that it's some sort of for the high school and colleges, the better way is like you go to the colleges, you meet students, and if it's a product only for the students, you do some sort of survey with them. You call them for an event or some sort of a webinar for them, and you see how they respond to it. And on the basis of the response, not just with the one college, because when you are looking for one college, if you get a 50% of the chance, what about the other colleges? They might not have the same structure. They might not have a same level of courses. Like somebody is only offering the MBA courses, and if they you go and ask that, do you really need a financing services, or do you really want to learn a finance? So the MBA guys would be interested in that. But when you go to the IT structure or some person who is doing a mechanical engineering or something, if you'll go and ask them that do you really need to have a financing chapters or something in your course, they'll say no, we don't need it. So you have to make it very clear, like who is going to be your audience, and not just don't do it with the one college, because as I said, the one college can be a ratio of 100% to, and maybe a 0% for you if they deny with your questions. So take a good amount of subset for whatever you do, and then you can just see what are the probabilities that can give you a better idea. Sorry.
That's okay. So I guess that ties into our next question that we got from the community. They're quite linked. So say you have a product that is successful in an initial market, but then you're looking to expand either internationally or to another region in your country. Do you need to undertake new product testing in that new market to again validate your idea with the new potential consumers? Or is your initial validation with your initial market target group sufficient?
Okay. I say that if you already have done idea validation, so you have, and if you already done idea validation for a one region, you already have a specific sense that what your customer likes or your consumer are in need of. So don't push completely and in a survey where there is of starting from a scratch, but you just do a survey on the basis of what you already done, and then just put those questions or those sort of offers to the new global market. Because after study, say for example, if you just launch we can take the example of a Uber when launched in specific to the Europe region. They did a good amount of testing when they launched it, but then when they wanted to replicate the same thing in the Asian market, what they did is like they just studied that how that market is, what is their actual size is, what is their expectation is from the user's perspective, because every country or locally or internationally is going to be a different market set for you.
Yeah.
So you have to keep that in mind, because user base is going to be very different. When you are talking about the North America, when you're talking about the European market, when you talk about the Asian market, the tendency, their income, their way of experience, and that also makes a huge difference when you are dealing with the specific countries, because they have their own challenges, and that is
Definitely.
what you have to keep in mind. Like a company like Uber took a lot of things. If you see, the Uber launches too much or too many offers in Asian countries, considering to get a user base compared to what they have in a North America or a European region.
Definitely. So that actually brings to mind a question that I have personally. You talked about the importance of taking surveys and of basically, coming to know your market through that means. Maybe surveys aren't the, let's call it, sexiest topic, but from your experience, how important are surveys to understanding your target market segment and whether your product will succeed in that market? And maybe you can give an anecdote from your personal experience about a time when someone thought they knew their target market group, and then they did a survey and it came back that they were actually completely incorrect.
Okay, so I can do. That's actually a very interesting question. This always happens when you don't do an actual idea validation at the time that it should be done, or you have done validated your idea with the wrong audience. That happens very clearly. That happens with us. It was one of the product that what we were creating. Uh, our target was for that product. Our target was to reach to the people who love to eat food and all those stuff, who wants to learn how to cook food, how to process, how to be a chef and all those stuff. But then what we realize is like the more we were targeting more of the community users, not the person who want to be a chef, but the audience who are already cooking at their home.
Okay.
So what we realized at that point of time is like we had a good amount of users with us. It was even after doing this, we had around 70 to 80,000 of users who were on our platform. But then we realized that okay, that is not what the actual audience is like. When we were putting the content for them, or we were putting the products for them, we were not getting the engagement as we wanted, because they were not the person who want to be a chef. They were already operating from a home, so they never saw that as an option that they can be a chef in their life. So when you say that okay, we have a course for you where you can be a chef, they'll say okay, oh, I don't need it. I'm already cooking from the last 10 years for my at my home, right?
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
were not able to gather the audience which we needed. So what we did is we completely pivoted the things and we started targeting to the actual audience what we had. It may happen that it will happen. Actually, it will not. I'll not say it may happen. It will happen that there would be a situation where you will see that your engagement is low, or it is not up to the mark. You had a better opportunity if you go to that market, but then you have to stick to your market. You have to stick to your niche, that what I'm going to target to them. So be very specific to know who your consumers are. If you know that better, so what I suggest is like when you do an idea validation, you keep some sort of personas in your mind. persona is very important to define. Like if you had no idea like how to create a persona, just search around a persona, you will get idea. So you have to visualize certain people's. Like for me, if I'm doing idea validation courses for me, then I have to be very clear that who needs idea validation, what is their
Mm-hmm.
age, what is the group who are looking for that. Am I going to target the working people, or who I'm going to target the entrepreneurs? So this is going to be a segmented. You have to create a segment for you before you create any sort of idea validation, and create personas, because when you create a persona, you can visualize that person. So if I say that, okay, there is a one person, James, who is an entrepreneur, who is in the range of 18 and 30, between 18 to 30, and he is studying or he is into the X industry, then I can visualize like what he does. So he plays, he does, he goes to the events, he goes for the meetups, he likes to be a part of the network, that all things. And then I can realize that, okay, if he is going at the 5 places, these are the 5 places where I can go and validate my idea.
Okay, very interesting. So you're kind of using those initial, let's call them potential customers, to then find out about more potential customers
Right. So
and
see,
where they
so
spend their time.
yeah, you have to make those things. You have to make those. Like one of the thing that what we realize is like there was a one survey done. I don't remember completely, but there was a one situation where we were like they were launching a specific food product into the market, and what they did was is like they just hire a couple of interns and they ask them that you go to the Starbucks, offer a coffee to the customers and ask them that will you be interested in buying certain things, or you would be interested to know more about this organic product that what we are developing. Just see what the reaction is. Just see how they are interested in your product. If they say that, okay, if they ask you too many questions, if you don't have answers, then first thing what you have to do is you have to find those answers
Okay,
before hitting
great.
the market.
I actually think that we have a question, a follow-up question from Ozal, who was the young entrepreneur that I was mentioning earlier. And
Okay.
he said, but wouldn't customer proofing come after we have validated our idea? How can we create customer profiles if we don't know if our idea will stick to that certain demographic?
That is why we are validating the idea, that you have to check with the customer, and if you think they are not your specific customer, you have to, it is not just that you would be validating with a specific customer. You have to as I said, you have to segment out. Like if you can check your idea for when you have a product with you, you already have a sense that this product will, so is where you are going to launch it and for whom you are going to launch it, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is like say for example, it is not then Apple, like who has a very wide range of the product, or it's not a Google that you would be launching for anything. Even like a Facebook, they define it like this is going to be for a 18 to 45, or then they realize that it's going to be more 10 years people like 45 to 60 who would be more interesting. So everything depends on your consumer base, right? So someone has to define certain things firstly, then and then only you can go. Or if you are not sure that what is going to be the age range for this, then you do a survey just by, don't pick up the age, you just give them the options like what is your age? It's between 8 to 18 to 30, 30 to 45, 45 onwards, or for the kids. You define the 4 to 5 sets of age that you think that the customer would be interested in. Survey with say 100 or 500 people at the time, and then see what is the actual answer that you're getting. On the
Mm-hmm.
basis of that, you can get an idea that, okay, most of the people who would be interested to use my products are in this specific range. So you get a better, now you already have a one set that is called a age, that okay, now you, in out of 200 surveys, there are 70 surveys who say that we would be interested in your product, and just check what the age that they have preferred. So if it is from 18 to 30, so this is the one of the age set that you are targeting now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. I hope that that sufficiently answered Ozal's question. Um, I think what I'd like to go into next is kind of talking about those iterations that you brought up in your introduction. So, you know, if you expose your product to your ideal or what you envision to be your target market, and there's very little interest, do you think that's a sign that you should completely drop your idea, or is it a sign that you should just tweak it slightly and then test again? You know, what are kind of the signals that maybe your idea is really off, and what are the signals or the, let's call them metrics, that you can be tuned into that maybe you just need to tweak something slightly and then it will catch on?
Okay. Throughout my career, I believed in I created a P3 approach for my projects. So that is, first is identify the problem. That's the first P. Identify the problem. The second P is design your painkiller. And third is be passionate for that. It's called a P3 approach. That's what I follow generally, is like, you see what's the problem is you're trying to solve. Just don't run into the market saying that this is the product I think is going to work for everyone. It never happens. Even Amazon has to try a lot of things. Even Facebook has to try a lot of things. And then we all have seen it, that they roll back certain features when they think it's not going as the market suggested them. So first is you have to identify the problem. If you think that this is the biggest problem that you think the people have, or the consumer have, or user base have, then just then you decide what can be the solution for this. There may possible that there can be n number of solutions to reach there, right? So you take any other example. There are so many social networking sites which are working in some other different way from the Facebook. So it doesn't mean that all of them are bad. No, not at all. So do you think that all of them are good from the Facebook? There are some maybe which are good, but there are some which are not doing so good. So you have to think that, okay, after when you have those products, and when you do a survey can be done in many ways. There are manual surveys that can be done. You go to people and ask them about the questions, and you do it. You do it in an online way. Online, put up a survey and then ask everyone to fill it up. You do a Google ads and see that how many Google ads is one of the good surveys. That is what I've seen. It's sort of a validating your idea. It's like just ask them to go to your page and put up some sort of a Google ads and see how many are ready to sign up with you.
Yeah.
In a pre-launch activity.
Yeah.
So that you get the idea that, okay, this is working or this is not working for you. So when you see that there is no such scope, what I'll suggest is that you have to look for the two things. What you say is like, how much I should pivot. First thing is how much I can deliberately pivot that idea and still reach to the same solution. So that is very much that you are not getting away from the solution. So I had seen a couple of websites who started as a deal of the day. So they give you some sort of a deal of their country or the specific state, and they put it across. And after some time, they completely went into the different models of total e-commerce solutions. So that all depends on the profitability as well. That, okay, if deal a day, how many are going to take it from you?
Yeah.
Right. So you have to see what is the market fit for you. Are you reaching to the solution or not? So if you think that it's not a good solution, after seeing a good amount of traction, even that nobody buys it, then it's a wise decision that you should leave out. Because there are certain products which I've seen, like, they are good, but there are limitations in terms of it's more of a heavy inventory. It's more of a tangible thing it's a perishable product which you cannot keep it for the longer time, or it's a very much into it's a very expensive product, that there is a very small niche, a very, very small niche. We can take an example. The good example is like about if you know about the gold iPhone. There isn't called a gold iPhone. Do you know that?
No. Sorry, gold iPhone?
Yes, there is a specific section that I have heard about. It is a gold iPhone. So, do you think the Apple is ever going to launch that into the local markets, saying that we can have a white iPhone, silver iPhone, black iPhone? Do you think that they will be launching it on their on the summer events or somewhere saying that we have a gold iPhone now? They'll never do
I
it because there's a
guess
specific
not.
set. There's a very specific set. There's a very
Very
specific
specific. Yeah.
niche, right? Very specific niche. So you don't have to market them.
Mhm.
You are going to do it by creating a group, creating an event for them where you can say this is it, or this has
Mhm.
been only ordered specific. It is not been for everyone. It is only you have to order on Apple, and then they deliver it.
Mhm. Mhm.
So as I said, it's a specific need that you have to look for.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is the market. If it doesn't fit you, if your niche is so minimal, uh, and whether it's a profitable or not, if it is not, leave that niche. Don't be just a blind follower of that.
Mhm. Mhm.
But if there is a chance that you can iterate it better. So there was an iPad and iPad 2, then they also launched an iPad mini because they saw that there is a segment which is required to do that, and they did, and they were successful in this.
Okay. Hmm. Very interesting. I'm intrigued. So then I think another good segue, because we talked about Google Ads and also the power of surveys, is to talk about what types of other market research tools do you use, or do you work with your clients when you're doing idea validation with them, and why do you use those tools, and what do they bring to the table?
Okay, there are many ways that you can do idea validation. There are no specific tools like that can give you the specific to the idea validation. Uh, One thing is what we learned is like there are the different ways of doing it. Like a Dropbox did it. You can put up a pre-launch page and invite everyone to see whether it's a good fit for them. And if they
Mm-hmm.
sign up with you, you see the traction, what they're asking for, what the questions that they answered it. That is pre-launch is one of the good way of knowing that. I'll give you one of the examples of the survey what we did. There was an investor who came to us like they were interested more in knowing that how they can invest into the startups. So
Mm-hmm.
just imagine like how would that look like when investor says that, hey, I'm looking for a startup who would like to get invested. He'll not have a value, right? He will not see a vision. Like, investors is what we see is like you have to approach them. They
Mm-hmm.
will not approach you. That's what the mindset is. But if they approach you, you started to think on the other way around. So to gather those things, you had to find a solution. So for me, the problem was that they were not getting the startups as they wanted to. So what we did is we did a survey in an event. We went on a one trade show. We put up that we are helping the startups to take their business to the next level. And then there in a one day we were able to close around 400 leads. And that 400 leads, out of that, we were sure that we are just going to close 4 to 5 startups for them. So this is like you should event is one of the good example as well. Uh, that you go to the events, you go to the trade show, you put up your product, you put up your application or whatever you're selling to. Just go and show them what you have on your hands, and see what reaction you are getting from there,
Mm-hmm.
because that is where you're going to see the actual traction. And you keep that in a mind, because it is not going to be possible that all the time you have the same thing. Like there are in a trade show there will, like if it's specific toys section, so person who are coming in the trade show for the toys, you already know that they all are interested in the toys market. So you already have a specific market who are interested into it. There would
Mm-hmm.
be a buyers, there would be a sellers, or there would be a wholesalers too. So you already know your segments now. Go
Mm-hmm.
and talk to them. You will get the idea that okay, if I want to launch something like this, what do you think? Can this be a good market fit? Because there are many things that you have to consider: price, how you're going to cover up your inventory. If it is going to be an online market, then you have to also make sure that how you're going to go viral, how you're going to do your social media. You have to keep all things in your mind.
Okay. Okay.
There's one more example which I can share is like we did a one pre-launch activity for a portal. It was more about creating a network where startups, mentors, and investors can be on the same platform. What we did is like in a pre-launch activity only we were able to close around 5,500 startups registered with us in 8 months of time. So what we did there was we clearly went to the trade shows. We went specifically to social media channels, and we help users to understand what we are trying to achieve here and what is the problem they are already facing. So touch base their problems. If you will not touch base their problems, they will never come to you for a solution. It's a very much important.
Okay. Okay. Um, so maybe I want to take like just a few steps back because I think, we're getting a little bit further down the road past idea validation.
Okay.
So I want to ask a question that relates to your revenue model and your business model. So how can idea validation also test your underlying business model? Because obviously it can test your product, your concept, your idea, but how does it test, as we were talking about earlier, the execution behind that? How does it show whether your execution is in line with, your idea? Your idea may be amazing and innovative, but as we discussed earlier, it's about the execution, which makes it successful and sustainable.
Okay, so here is a good example that I gave it when you asked about the revenue model. When I say that you know when a gym, if somebody is opening a gym, or if somebody asks you that would you be interested in paying just $1.05 for gym membership, how many of you think that would answer yes?
$1.50? Probably everyone.
Probably everyone, right? But how many of them are going to turn up for the next 30 days?
Probably not so many. I think this is the example of every New Year's when there's hundreds of thousands of signups, and then by the end of the month, they're all canceled.
So this is one of the example for the revenue model. You know that people are ready to spend $5 even for a membership, but they're not ready to come in for you. So what is going to be a catch for them, or what is going to be an offer for them? Is it something that you're going to say it's just because for the $1.05 you get it for a month, and everybody, I'll not say when the 99%, but the 100% people will say that okay, we would like to be in a gym if it is just it's a free, or it's just the business proposition is $1.05 a month. Oh wow, that's an interesting offer, right? But then how many turns up? If they don't turn up, how you're going to sell your solutions to them, or how you're going to make a name for you, how you're going to run a business. So then you have to decide what is going to be your business model based on that. Whether a good idea would be to make a everyday pass for them, or saying that okay, let's meet for the weekends where we, along with the gym, you invite everyone, say okay, this weekend we are going to do a Zumba classes as well, and it's going to be free if you already have purchased my membership. So for a weekend they'll come down. If they don't come for a gym, but they'll come down because Zumba classes is something they want to go, right? So this is how you have to design your business model. This is how you want to design your revenue model. It is not just a straightforward thing that okay, this is the exit formula that is going to work for you. So based on the consumer, you have to see what is going to be the right way and what is the right fix that you can plan your revenue or the business model. And, and just by price point, it is not going to be, when you say that, okay, we are going to sell this into the X price, and the better version is going to be the Y price, and much better version is going to be Z price. That never works. You have to strategically define that, okay, my user is in the range of, say, for example, they are earning $50,000 a year. So they can spend for this lavish life, a $10 or a $15 or $50 or $100 a month.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to define your strategy on the basis of that, and you have
Mm-hmm.
to do an iteration as well. It is never going to be like that. Okay, you decided this, and then you have to follow it. No, you have to iterate your process.
Mm-hmm. So what I hear you saying then, if I can just bring it together, is that a very big part of testing, of idea validation, is also to know, to find out who, your ideal customer is, and then to model your revenue, your business model and your revenue model based on that customer. So once you've, say, done a survey and you found that you're actually going to be targeting 30 to 50-year-olds instead of 18 to 30-year-olds, well, those 30 to 50-year-olds probably have a higher rate of disposable income and are willing to spend a bit more on something that they're going to return to time and time again. So then that can then determine your revenue model based on, your target customer group that you've found from your surveys. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah. So basically, it's a subset of what you already have as a consumer. You have to see where they are spending the money. If your product is like a live product, or if it's a solution for specifically to the tech, how much they're willing to pay for it. And on the basis of that, you have to define that what is going to be your net margin, what is going to be your gross margin. But that's a different level of the game. That what I think is an idea validation. It would not be a good suggestion to discuss those things.
Okay. And I think we're almost out of time, but something that I personally had a question about that you brought up earlier was that you should be going through multiple rounds of iterations. Maybe you can share, I know we talked about Uber and Airbnb earlier on and how they did many rounds of product testing. Maybe you can share an anecdote from your own work about, a business that you worked with that went through, plus iteration to the product which we now identify with them on the market.
Right. So the one thing that what we make sure that is like when we iterate the process, we check with the market. We make sure that the MVP is hit the market in the next 90 days.
Okay.
Because there is I'll not say a specific an expiration date, but if you really want to grow your product, or if you really want to get into it, your iteration process should be less than 90 days.
And also,
So
I imagine for financial purposes as well, you can't be
there are
doing, yeah.
many factors attached
Yeah.
to it. Like, see, this is the reason that what we do idea validation is like, you don't create a complete product and put up in the market and see that how it's going to work, and you hold your hands and say that okay, this should work, this should work. Hey Jesus,
Yeah.
this should work. That's not going to happen. So what you should do is like you just release a certain set of features to the even a Facebook never launched it as a complete full-fledged social networking site, right? They
Yeah.
go on adding the features, and that is what you have to do. Even like when you have a new feature, you see how the market is looking for it. You already did some survey for that. You already did some validation. So when you are releasing a feature, see how it works for you, and then create the new features, new iterations for you, and as you go. Never just launch everything at one go. It is never suggested way. So you
Okay.
just have to create an MVP. MVP is like called a minimal viable
Yeah.
product. You put that into the market. You every week there are the teams which I know that they do their MVP every twice a month, 2 weekly, because that's a sprint. That's a sprint that they use it for the 2 weeks. So in the 2 weeks, they decide that they develop, they put it into the market with the new feature sets. So that's how actually it should be done. And everybody, most of them work on the agile process. But that's again into the project. When we talk about the validations, it's a different group that who does many things on certain thesis. So you have to be aligned with your vision as well, because that's very much important. Like, uh, vision is very much important with what you're doing. If you are, just think about it. The Apple is already doing the products in certain way, and then they realize that okay, now we are going to go into the grocery market. So that's not going to fit for them at this point, because that's what we have seen. That's what we are seeing, that the Apple is a tech company. It's a very niche market, and then what they do is they do it at their best, right? Now when I talk about my projects, one of the projects that what we did is like, as I said, one of the food one. Uh, we created the brand for that product. We marketed it well, and we realized that the consumers where we were targeting, it is not what the actual consumers that we really wanted on our platform. So you cannot say to the consumers that, hey, don't come to my website.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to make sure that when you pivot something, your customer expectation, emotions, or your customers belief for you should not be hurt by any means. That is very much important, because if you have a negative impact on your customers, trust me, that is the worst thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So you have to make sure that when you are iterating the process, you are not hurting anyone's sentiments too.
Yeah.
So you have to take a one thing at a time. You have to implement that, and keeping your previous users in the mind and planning the new users together. You have to move to the next step. So to completely for that time, for us, it was the community driven website for us. So every users were putting up a comments, putting up submitting the recipes. They were sharing their thoughts on how you should even cook, how you should, if you want to blanch your spinach or something, that how you should do it, and all those things. So you never say that, okay, now we are going to stop these things. Now we are only going to put the content that what we think it shouldn't be good. So
Yeah. Yeah.
the best way is like you start selecting who are good into this market, the users who is really giving you the good content. So give those content only allow those contents to go live with you. So take the good things, leave out the rest of the things. Take the good things and leave out the rest of the things. That's what we did for this thing, and I think it took us around 4 months to completely transform from what we had into the new one. And then we were rolling out certain features on every 2 weeks, certain features, and if it's big features, then it is going to be on the 30 days timeline.
Okay, great. I think that was some very insightful information that you just provided for our watchers there. What I'd like to get from you then is just some kind of final points on idea validation, as I know you have a full busy day ahead of you. Some key takeaways. Earlier you had mentioned your 3 Ps. If you have any other just rules to live by with idea validation and closing points for our audience, and then we can wrap it up.
Okay, so as I said, there are many ways that you can do your surveys. Just if you're a shy guy, then I think there are other companies who do it for you. Just go and approach them. Don't think that you have to do it alone. There are many ways that you can get it done. There are surveys, there are Google Ads. You can create a landing page. You see how the response you're getting. You create a wizard, like on a website, that okay, this is the flow that we are going to put it for a website, and see how it works for us, and then see that whether it's reliable or not, what people are saying. Because when you created a post, you always realize that, okay, this is the solution that I am providing, but what if the other have a better solution for this? So always accept what customers or the consumers are saying. That's their belief.
Yeah.
What solution you have, it's what you think is best for everyone, right? But you are not the alone who are going to use this product.
Yeah.
Right? There are many people who are going to use the product. And you already, there was one of the question that I came across sometime, is like, they say that I know this is the problem that is already there, and this is what solution that I'm providing it.
Yeah.
So why it's not working? That's not working because you think that this is the solution for them. They don't think this is the only solution for them. Ask them that what they want to see. See that, like, if it is a really solution that is actually covering their problem. So you define. So there is one, the good example is like crowdfunding. So crowdfunding is something which I have seen. Like there is a, like a Kickstarter or a fund founder. There are many things that you can go for a crowdfunding and see that how they respond to it. There is a number of sites which are doing the crowdsourcing as well, which can just give you an idea. Go to the Reddit, go to the social media. Social media is one of the good ways of doing an idea validation. I think people are even taking surveys for their logo. What do you think, which logo is going to look better for my site? You know,
Yeah.
then they see there are the 10s and 15s of answers and they say, okay, this is the logo I want. The reason for asking is not just that you don't have a capability of thinking that which one is better for you, but to know from the user perspective which they think that proves their purpose.
Yeah.
But I have seen the logos which they only say that which one looks better. Instead of ask them that what you think that is more resonate with my business. You
Okay.
should be asking that question. You have to ask them actual questions. Just don't ask a vague questions by, uh, you know, are you interested in eating an organic food? So everybody's
Yeah.
going to say yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Nobody's going to say no.
Yeah.
But then you ask them that, okay, this is the organic product that which I'm selling. Would you be interested in this?
Yeah.
Are you interested to have organic in a lunchtime, dinner time, or is it something that gives you more protein as well? So is there any intake you are taking for a protein or vitamins or something? So these are the set of questions. You have to be very specific, the questions that you are asking to your user.
Mm-hmm.
They should be able to communicate. They should be able to, you know, feel the points. That's what I say, that you have to identify the problem. And then my P3 approach, as I say, is like identify the problem, design the painkiller, and then you should be passionate to say, okay, this is one thing which I like to say, never validate your idea once again with the family and the friends. That is going to be
Yeah.
the worst idea ever.
Key
So you go
takeaway.
to their actual users, because family is always going to support you by any means,
Yeah.
right? They always say, like, if you go to your parents, they're always going to say, yeah, it's a nice idea.
Yeah.
Right? That's what we hear. So you go to your actual audience and you will get the better ideas.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important point to make because you often hear that young entrepreneurs should turn to for the first angel investment, they come from the family. So I think that's an interesting point of distinction that don't confuse someone validating your idea with giving you an angel investment because as you mentioned, your family is always going to want to support you, but they're not necessarily a good indicator of what's going to succeed on the market.
Okay, there is a one saying in an investor, like I've worked with investors, and one thing what I realize is like they say is like, where did you get your first investment from? So if you go to some sort of an A series or the B series, they always say that from where is the first you got from. So they always say that whether you received from the family, friend, or a fool. So these are the three, they always ask the questions. If you receive from these three of them, okay, then we need to validate your idea to take it to this next level. We want to check whether it's a good idea because family, friends, they give the money. And there are certain fools as well who thinks that it's going to work as well. So that's their belief that this, if you answer any of these three questions, then they say that, okay, we need to do more validation of your product or your startup before we invest into it.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Okay. Well, I see a comment from Ozal, who's been quite active, saying that the parents in Pakistan are quite different. So I'm guessing he means that maybe they have some entrepreneurial instincts in Pakistan, and maybe the parents are a little bit tougher out there. But at least over here, it's definitely, don't turn to your family. Okay, so I think that was a really informative session, and I hope that everyone that tuned in throughout the course of this hour really got a lot out of it. Obviously, it's going to be live on the A Community Facebook for anyone to watch at any time. So viewers also feel free to share. And thank you so much, Jai, for taking the time out of your busy schedule. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did.
Oh yeah, I did it. It's really good session actually. I love this
Yeah.
because when I was doing a mentoring for the similar things, that is what I realized that this is the first step you should do before you get into the market. And if you did this right, you expect that you have a good amount of accessibility of what you're going to do. So to all the people, what I'll say is one more thing is like, I'll just share my email ID with you. If others have any sort of a questions, they can just send me an email. I'll try to respond as much as I can, but there is no timeline that I can say.
Great, great, excellent. And you can always send you a message as well through your Yay Community Coach profile.
Yeah.
If anyone out there is interested in working with Jai for support with idea validation, you're available on there. Just make sure you
Yep.
come with good questions, and then you can receive the proper support.
Yes, they do.
Okay, perfect. Well, have a great rest of your day, and thanks again.
Thank you so much. Thank you, audience. Bye bye.
Bye.